We begin with a major shakeup on Alberta's political stage. NDP leader Rachel Notley is stepping down after almost a decade at the helm. Under her leadership, the NDP formed government in the province for the first time ever. And despite two successive election losses, Notley currently leads the largest official opposition in provincial history. She plans to remain as leader until her successor is chosen. Rachel Notley, welcome back to Power and Politics.
Good to be here. Thanks.
So why leave now?
Well, as every leader should after an election, it's important to take stock and look at what happened and what next steps are and what's best for the party. And so, of course, I did that after the election at the very end of May, and I took some time to think that through, and I did give it really serious consideration. And then at a certain point, when I realized that no, I think it is time to pass the torch to someone else, I still felt strongly that it was important to lead our 19 new MLAs who are deeply competent and credible through their first session, to make sure that we had our systems and processes and orientation and all that kind of stuff in place so they could get their feet wet in a relatively stable situation before we moved on to a leadership race. And so that's what drove my decisions.
You said that earlier today as well in your news conference about thinking about what's best for the party and caucus. Is that another way of saying it's time for a change, or is this a reflection about your own willingness to keep doing this after almost 10 years?
Well, I think it's both. It's a combination of both. I mean, I have to ask myself seriously whether I've got the energy to give it my all every day, and I'm not 100% sure that after 10 years that's exactly where I am. But also, quite honestly, I think it's fair to say that there's some really good folks in our caucus, and it's time to let other people shine. And political leaders rarely get the chance to select and choose their exit. And I've been given the benefit of that. And to be able to do that at a time when the party is strong and well positioned to be able to make the transition to a new leader, I'm really privileged to be able to do that.
These days like this are perhaps a good moment for reflection, and so I'm hoping you'll indulge us in a little bit of that and maybe reflect a bit on particularly the state of the Federation right now. There's obviously pretty strained relationships between the federal government, Alberta's provincial government, Danielle Smith invoking the Sovereignty Act. How would you characterize the state of the Federation this moment when it involves Alberta?
Well,
certainly.
Yeah, no, we've seen better days. There's no question about that. I mean, I've been quite clear. I think that all the drama around taking every opportunity to frame absolutely every issue as Ottawa's fault has sold both Canadians and Albertans short. There are legitimate grievances between Alberta and Ottawa. Some of them are political, a lot of them are circumstantial, and they are problems that need to be worked out by serious people being in the room. And we have not enjoyed the benefit of that kind of leadership for quite some time in this province. And I think that it's unfortunate for both Canadians and, as I said, for Albertans. So that is frustrating. But we're going to continue to talk about the things where Alberta needs a strong voice to stand up for what's best for Alberta, but to also solve problems that we all share. Because sometimes when you're in government, new challenges arise and nobody caused them, and it's a question of figuring out the best way to confront them and forge a new path, which is success.
Well, but I do want to ask you how much of the strain that you're describing you think the federal government has to own right now?
Well, as I say, I mean, it's the federal government is not without fault by any means, but we also have a provincial government that has failed to come to the table in a serious way. They take every possible opportunity to politicize problems that are complex in a simplified way that goes around what the real range of solutions are and ignores what the real range of solutions are. So yes, the relationships between Ottawa and Alberta have gotten worse, but I have to say that the provincial government doesn't come to this with clean hands, because you can't have a grown-up conversation with them. And I will say this, I mean, Albertans are going to enjoy the benefit for many, many years. The fact that we got the first pipeline to Tidewater in 50 years. We're going to enjoy the benefit through an increased return on investment for the product that we all own. That is a project that would not have happened in the current environment and between provincial and federal government.
So on that note, or at least a related note, I want to reflect a little bit as well on energy policy and the environment. You did introduce the carbon tax when you were in power. The federal government, things are not going so well, I think we can say, politically, with their carbon tax right now. Is there a political lesson there?
I mean, obviously, politics and democracy and responding to genuine concerns of citizens is always something which makes challenging policy problems more difficult to resolve. So, we have a very serious affordability problem in Canada now. Families are struggling, and the reality of that has resulted in the dilution of some of the climate fighting policies that have been put in place by multiple governments. And that's a problem, because I know people have very serious affordability concerns, but we also need to position our economy in a way that ensures that we are ready to deal with the reality of climate change. And it can be an opportunity, but there's no question that to simplify these issues the way I've seen them simplified in some cases it's frustrating.
Do you think, I mean, would you ever advise anyone to run on a carbon tax, a new carbon tax right now, though, when you look at the future of this issue?
Well, I will say it was probably not my most successful platform policy, but I do believe, and whether a carbon tax is ultimately the right way to confront climate change, I do believe that we need people who are prepared to stand up and say, we must take this problem seriously. We cannot keep kicking the can down the road. These problems are coming at us faster and faster and faster, and they are not solvable in a 6-month legislative cycle. They're not solvable in a 1-day media cycle, and they're often not solvable within a 4-year electoral cycle. Yet it is our obligation as leaders to confront them with honesty and authenticity. And I feel that we're losing that right now in a lot of conversations across this country.
I do want to ask you one more question before I let you go about something else that you said today. You said Alberta is not a one-party province anymore. And of course, until you won in 2015, it very much was. How do you know that's true, Rachel Notley? How do you know that what we saw wasn't, and I'm not saying this to flatter you, but wasn't about your personal popularity with Albertans? How can you be sure that there's still a future for the NDP once you're no longer leader?
Well, because I have had the privilege of talking to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Albertans over the last many years. And I know what they care about, and I know what their values are, and I know what their hopes and their aspirations are. And there are many Albertans who are looking forward to a progressive, entrepreneurial, diverse future. And they are looking for a party where they're not just getting their voice heard in the legislature, but they're getting their voice running the legislature. And that is something they have now. They see it, and they know it, and that's why I'm feeling very confident about the future of our party and the future of this province in the years to come.
Any chance we'll ever see you in federal politics in the future?
Nope.
A very succinct answer to end the interview. Thank you very much for your time today, Rachel Notley.
Thank you very much. Take care.